All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ole Miss After Dark. We're back here for our Week 2 gambling show. We will recap what happened in Week 1. As I'm sure y'all guessed, the other two gentlemen on the show had a better week than I did. But we will go over all that here in just a little bit and then get into our Week 2 bets and then look at that big line in the Ole Miss Middle Tennessee State game, too. So I think that's pretty interesting. But before we dive into all of that, just a quick reminder, we are brought to y'all by Rhythm, the best handicapping app out there. They can make your own model for you with their generated AI, or you can do it yourself. They also have this new cool thing where they show leaderboards for each sport that they offer models in, and you can see what the win-loss record and whether total spreads, money lines, whatever it is, and you can go to that leaderboard and copy those models and save as one of your own. That way you can see it as well. So a new little feature they added there that's pretty cool. So y'all go check that out. That'd be at the App Store, Google Play. Just type in RITHMM, sign up, and you can get 7 days free and start winning a little bit of money with Rhythm. So we really appreciate those guys. I'm joined once again here, though, this week with our gambling professionals at this point. Certainly much more than myself. Hitch and Chad, how we doing today, boys?
Anytime you can go a weekend without losing, one of your plays. I'm feeling good. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah.
I'm
sure Hitch is too.
Here's the thing: is you're beating up on yourself, Diz. But across the board, we all had a pretty good, for lack of a better term, board, right? It was 2-1, and then your plus money play, and then same for me, and then Chad hits all three of his, right? Come on, give yourself some credit. Don't get into the self-deprecation just yet.
We did okay. Overall, I will add in the plus money plays in the overall record here, just because we are all about transparency here on Ole Miss After Dark. But I ended up going 2-2, missing Jacksonville State -2.5 and the West Virginia money line. Neither one of those are particularly close. Bad bets on my part. That one's on me. But I finished 2-2 for -0.23 units. Hitch goes an impressive 3-1 with the big money line play there. The Vanderbilt Commodores hit for a plus 410 money line. So he goes 3-1 for +5 units on the week. Big week for Hitch there. And then Chad, again, 3 for 3 on all of his regular plays. Missed on his money line parlay for +14 with Florida getting absolutely drugged by Miami. But Notre Dame came through for him. That's kind of how parlays go. You're usually going to hit half of them or just come up one play short on. But he still had a good week, 3-1 +2.5 units on the week for our main man out in California, the winner of bets, Chad Flowers.
That's right.
And the Sam Houston wasn't even close, right?
No, it wasn't. No.
Yeah.
No, I ended up jumping on that one as well. But before that game started on Saturday, along with the Vanderbilt money line, I told you, Hitch, wasn't going to let you ride that one alone, man. If it was going to be a sweat, we were going to sweat it together, and it did end up being a sweat by the end of it.
Yeah, look, man, I wish that I could sit here and be like, that I have all of these reasons that I picked Vanderbilt.
Saw it coming.
Right. When the actual truth of it is, I was panicking, looking for a line to sit, and I saw immediately SEC team at home, 2 touchdowns. I knew that would be a good money line, like a profitable money line, and I was just do that one, do that. Yep. Just got lucky. It happens, man.
Worked out, man. Worked out. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and start diving into what we're looking at for week 2 right here. Pretty good slate of games. I found myself drawn to the road teams this week, and I know that is not a recipe for success when it comes to gambling, but I really like some of the lines there. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off right here with Army getting 3.5 points at FAU this weekend. That's a 11 o'clock game on Saturday. Army just plays this really sound style of football, right? They're going to go out there, they're going to run the ball, triple option against an FAU team that's not particularly good. Army really had it clicking last week, and anytime I can back our military academies and feel good about it, then I'm going to take that shot. So I'll take Army plus 3.5 on the road against Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, that's good. That's one of those ones I
Yeah,
was telling
anytime
you
you're
when I
playing
got on
against
here.
Army.
When I got on here just a second ago, Diz, and we were talking about how your play playing the road teams, and I was telling you how my silly plus money parlay that I was thinking about. Army
Yeah.
was one of them because they're road. What is it like? They're like plus 116 or maybe or something crazy like that.
It's low 100. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you can take a team that's got to prepare for the option through Army, right? You got to feel like that at least some sort of an advantage. You're getting a hook. The Army always seems to play close games, so yeah.
That was kind of the big thing. That thing getting up over a field goal there too, right? If FAU drives down, kicks a field goal to win it or something, then that's not going to end up busting this bet. So that was one of the reasons behind it as well. So, all right, Hitch, go ahead and give us your first one for week 2.
All right, I'm going out west to Georgia Southern and Nevada. This season, Nevada's offense has had a few explosive drives. I didn't count all of those like I did the ones that I'm fixing to list out, but their defense has given up 6 touchdowns this year. 5 of them have been under 3 minutes, very quick. All right, 9 plays, 83 yards, 2 minutes and 13 seconds. 8 plays, 98 yards, 2 minutes, 12 seconds. Just a whole bunch of those, right? Georgia Southern's defense, on the other hand, has given up 8 touchdowns this year, and 5 of those are less than 2 minutes. So the point I'm trying to make is that both of these defenses have been getting absolutely gashed by the other teams or by their opponents, and just giving up big plays, explosive plays left and right. This totals at 57.5, or it was before we got on here. I don't really see either one of these defenses, showing up necessarily. So I'm getting on the over 57.5, Georgia Southern, Nevada. Oh, the third down stuff too that I was going to tell you about. Remember me telling you about third down stuff? Third downs last week against Boise State. Georgia Southern gave up 7 for 11 when it came to third downs, and then they converted 12 of 19. Right, so you're giving up third downs that you're going to be giving up touchdowns or scores at least. And then also you're good at converting those because Nevada's defense over the last 2 weeks have been right at 50% converting and giving up third down. So I expect a lot of scoring in this one.
Yeah, looking at, Georgia Southern is one of the worst. I think they're the 3rd worst, at least, that have played FBS teams in yards per play allowed. So yeah, that defense has really been getting gashed, like you say.
Yeah, and I mean, last week it was Ashton Genty from Boise State. I mean, and he's an incredible back, right? But at the same time, their quarterback, Maddox, he didn't look incredibly great and was still putting up, pretty good numbers. And I just feel confident after watching Nevada a couple times and Georgia Southern once last week. This under 60, I feel pretty confident here.
Yeah. So where's this game at? Is it Georgia Southern
Nevada.
Or Nevada? Okay.
Nevada.
Okay. That bodes well for you then. If Nevada had to make that trip down to Statesboro, ain't no telling what would have happened there.
Man, ain't no telling.
All right, so I'm all in on 57.5 now that I know it's in Nevada.
Here we go.
Yeah. All right, Chad, you're up, bud.
All right, so I am more fading Temple than taking Navy, but I'm going to take Navy minus 12, 115. Navy played Bucknell last week, so you can't glean too much off of that. But I watched Temple against Oklahoma because that was one of my plays. They're one of the worst teams I've seen. They were awful. Now, that's still a lot of points to have to deal with because Navy's not a bunch of world beaters. But with the option that you have to prepare for coming off getting your ass kicked by Oklahoma, under 2 touchdowns, it's a stretch. I'm not very comfortable, but there's not a lot of data out there with all the FCS versus FBS games last week, so I'll take Navy under 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Look, man, I'm all in right here, man. I took Army, you took Navy. I'm certain Hitch's third pick's going to end up being something to do with that Air Force game if I had to guess there. But yeah, all the reasons you said, though, kind of just like Army, going up against a really bad team, having to prepare for that triple option, it's always going to be tough. So, yeah, I don't have any issues with that whatsoever.
Yep, agreed.
Good hitch. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to my second pick then. I am going to the ACC here for my second pick. A team everybody watched a couple weeks ago, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They are -2.5 going to Syracuse this weekend. Really like Georgia Tech in this spot. It was 3.5. Looked at earlier, dropped under a field goal. I went ahead and took the Yellow Jackets there. I just loved how physical Georgia Tech was in that opening game against Florida State up front. Both lines of scrimmage, they really imposed their will up front on a Florida State team that, look, obviously got gashed by Boston College as well. There's obviously issues going on in Tallahassee. Instead of it being strictly Georgia Tech just being a world beat or anything, but was still impressed with them. I've been a big Haynes King fan all offseason. I've seen what he did in Oxford last year. Thought he played really well. Continued that throughout last season. Played well again against Florida State. I know they came out and beat Georgia State, I believe it was, this past Saturday. So I like Georgia Tech to kind of keep the momentum going, even though it's on the road. I get it under a field goal, so I'll take the Yellow Jackets -2.5.
So that's a game I was looking at too. I think the only thing that steered me off of it, because I liked Georgia Tech too. It's one of those lines that stinks.
It does.
The Carrier Dome's a tough place to play, right? Weird things happen in the Carrier Dome. But yeah, I like the play, especially under a field goal. But yeah, that was just one I couldn't pull the trigger on. But I'm going to be watching it because I like what Georgia Tech has done. But now with Florida State with 2 losses, you start wondering how much we really start applying that week 0 win as a real big positive for the Yellow Jackets, right?
Yeah, totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I same thing. I even got almost halfway through a write-up before I decided to stay away from it. And I can't even remember exactly what it was, but it was a combination of things like, well, I mean, Florida State, not what we thought they were. But then at the same time, you don't want to take anything away from Georgia Tech, the quarterback and that running back, because, I mean, they looked like a very good football team against at the time, they did what they were supposed to do against that team. Right. And so, I liked this one too. I think part of the reason was that it feels like Syracuse is one of those teams for me that get me either way. If I bet on the orange, somehow they mess it up. And if I bet against them, they're world beaters. And so I think that's what kept me away from it. But I like Georgia Tech too. That's probably the way I would have gone.
Yeah. All right, Hitch, you're up for your second play.
Okay. Going to be staying out west. I guess I'm out west all night. Oregon -20 against Boise. Oregon was not overly impressive in week 1, but as I was looking at it and reading a couple of articles, it looks like they had some offensive line injuries. Maybe their center had to be moved to right guard, and then they had a walk-on playing center, and so those have been kind of cleared up. And once you start thinking about Oregon's running game and how big the offensive line is to that, you got to think that they'll probably look a lot better on the ground. And also, if you look past the score and at the stats, it was a dominant performance by Oregon, right? I mean, it was just probably some bad luck. The score is what it was. They missed some fourth down, some trick plays, some double reverses or whatever your favorite play did that, maybe got some trash touchdowns there that made the score closer than what it should be. But, in my first play, I was telling you about Georgia Southern's defense, right? Mm-hmm. That was against Boise. So Boise, what ran wild all over Georgia Southern. You got
Yep.
Ashton Genty. He's their guy. You got to think that Dan Lanning is going to, his whole game plan is going to be around stopping Ashton Genty. And again, I mentioned that the quarterback, he just didn't seem like he was going to beat an Oregon, right? Or even be able to put up points against this defense. And so second straight road game for Boise. They're playing in the heat and humidity. Georgia Southern having to travel all the way back up. That defense was on the field for 85 plays. And I just don't see that defense being able to not even stop, but slow down Dylan Gabriel and the Oregon offense. I think -20 is a bargain at home, and I'm all over it. -20 Oregon.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You got to think that Lanning's going to have them refocused for this year, because I still consider him one of the best coaches in the nation. Not that, anything swayed me from this past week, but I think they'll be ready to go for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, just that Boise State defense, 9 plays of 50 yards, 11 plays, 81 yards, 8 plays, 75 yards, 5 plays, 75 yards, 11 plays, 65 yards, right? That was 5 touchdown drives that Georgia Southern put on them. Imagine what the Oregon offense is going to do to that defense that has just played 85 plays in the heat and humidity of Georgia a week ago. That's my thought process going into this one.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. So, all right, Chad, you're up, bud.
Yeah, nothing real fancy here. I don't have a ton of logic. This is a pick 'em. I'm going to take the Roadrunners on the road at Texas State. Not very inspiring results from either team last week. Texas State, barely beat Lamar, which is an FCS team, a good FCS program, but FCS nonetheless. UTSA was not very good against Kennesaw State, a team that has made that transition up to the FBS level. But considering some of the, the basic numbers from those games, I'll take the Roadrunners at a pick 'em, even though they're on the road.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A program that seems like is a little bit higher up than Texas State too, a little further along, right? It's really hard to judge these G5 programs with transfer portal and all that year to year. But so you say you got that at a pick 'em?
Yeah, I got them at a pick 'em.
Okay,
Man,
got it.
Getting it at a pick 'em really makes me love the over because you got to feel like this is going to be just a back and forth. I mean, a team may go up 10 at certain points, and then the next thing you know, they're down 3. It feels like that. This will be a fun game to watch. Just to watch, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So, all right, for my third pick, I don't know if y'all have heard or not. Georgia Tech travels to Syracuse this weekend to take on the Orange, and obviously, I'm on the Yellow Jackets -2.5. I'm also going to hammer the under 61 right here as well. I think that number's a little too high. Georgia Tech has their games have gone under in 5 straight, dating back to last year, and 8 of their last 10 games have gone under the number overall for them. Now Syracuse, theirs is a little bit different. I think they're 5-5 over their last 10 going over, but I just really like Georgia Tech's advantage up front defensively to cause a little bit of pressure on Syracuse, speed things up for them a little bit, maybe get a couple turnovers, because Georgia Tech's not a team that's going to sit there and run tempo and try to score fast on you. They want to sit there and try to grind the clock, take their time. So 61 points seems like an awful lot with these new clock rules and stuff like that. So I'll take the Yellow Jackets, who have gone under 5 straight times and 8 of the last 10.
One thing I was thinking about when you're doing your previous pick of Georgia Tech, what's going to be really curious to me is we talked about throwing out some of the Florida State results. I'm really interested to see what the Georgia Tech secondary does, right? Because we've seen now in 2 games, Florida State can't throw the ball, right? Syracuse threw the ball pretty well against Ohio. It's still Ohio. But I think we're going to get a real good idea of what Georgia Tech is this game, considering the difference in offense that they're playing between Syracuse and Florida State. So that's going to be the big thing I'm looking at here.
At least we know that Florida State's quarterback can't throw the ball.
Correct.
I don't know about them as a team necessarily. This one, I think anytime you have a run first, like offensive mind, like Georgia Tech was against Florida State, against Georgia Southern, like you have to start looking at these unders. I'll just go into my next pick on that because it's Arkansas, Oklahoma State under 61. This past week or beginning week 0, I built a couple of models in Rhythm and let them get some data. At first they looked like they were really bad and they weren't doing well, but one of the nice things about Rhythm is they have these reports and filters that you can see, specific things. And as I got to looking, combined over the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks of football, these models are 23 and 11 on unders. And so I thought, well, if there is a game where all 3 of these models agree on an under, let's look at it. And it was Arkansas, Oklahoma State. It's hard to get anything from Arkansas, just trouncing Arkansas Pine Bluff. But I think it's pretty safe to say they're not going to be just running through this Oklahoma State defense that's returning 81% of its production last year. OK State, you got Ollie Gordon. They're just said it a while ago, run first. Arkansas is not traditionally known as a explosive team through the air. I don't remember. And so I don't expect that to change. And so I think, like I said, with 2 run first, Arkansas's new quarterback, the kid that transferred in from Boise State, he's got legs, he runs really well. And so also you got to think Sam Pittman's going to be trying to keep the ball on the ground and getting that offensive going. So with 2 teams doing that, I think 61 is well within reach. So we're going to go under 61.
I like that game. I've got one of my picks are going to involve that game here shortly, but that's going to be really interesting because I still don't think I have no idea what Arkansas is. Zero clue whatsoever. It's going to be a real good matchup, I think, between 2 teams that could be around the same tier in both the Big 12 and the SEC.
I agree 100%. I will also be talking about that here in a little bit as well.
Yeah. My last pick, the game of the day, big noon Saturday, Longhorns -7, -120. I asked a question in the chat on Saturday, watching Michigan, what the line would have to be to take Michigan in this game. Obviously, it's not 7 for me because I just don't like what I saw. Fresno State's they're a good G5 team, right? They have been for years. But the way that Michigan, defending national champions on offense, looked against them, and the way that Texas looked, granted, it's Colorado State. They did not look good, but is that Tech? I just think that Texas has way more talent. They have a quarterback. Michigan does not. That's a problem. And so give me a touch. It's in the big house, but it's a day game. And I think that Texas is the more talented team. I don't have to deal with the hook. Give me the 7.
I think it's double digit. I think it's 10 points at least.
That would have been my answer when I sent you that text the other night. My answer would have been it would have to be over 10 for.
You were looking for a serious answer. I gave you a silly one, right? I mean,
as
that's kind of how I go.
I've grown accustomed to that from you,
right? Yeah, but I mean, I 10. I don't know. 2 touchdowns seems like too much for the defending at home, but 10 feels about right. So, do you think that? And I think I know your answer, but was Michigan just being vanilla and not showing anything against a team that they knew that they would maybe not dominate, probably beat, so that they didn't? I don't think so, right? Like you said, Fresno State has been a very relevant team for many years now, but I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to get more data this week, but just from a yards per play, even if they're trying to run the ball, you don't have to be vanilla to dominate at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so, like you said, at the quarterback stunk. I mean,
Yeah. So I may be wrong. It is still, the defending national champs, biggest game of the season, obviously, thus far. But yeah, I just liked what I saw at Texas. They looked really, really good.
Well, and I think the fact that it is 7 that much, right, at home, I think that's the bookmakers saying it doesn't matter what this number is. Texas is going to dominate. Like this number could be between 7 and 28, and Texas might still cover. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I like Texas in this spot too for a lot of the reasons you just mentioned, Chad. Mainly the quarterback, though. In games like this, give me the best quarterback when Ewers is obviously the best quarterback. And look, Texas has done a really good job the last couple of years. It's one thing Sark, when he got there, really put an emphasis on was in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. He knew he had to get bigger, more aggressive if he was coming into the SEC. He's done a great job of that as well. They're really big and really athletic up front. This isn't going to be a team that Michigan can just walk in and push around.
And they went to Alabama last year and won.
Yeah.
So they can go on the road. They've proven it with the same core group of players.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I like Texas there -7 as well. We'll probably end up on that one by the time the game rolls around. So, let's get to our plus money plays here. I will go first. A game we've already talked about. Arkansas is traveling to Oklahoma State. I'm going to go ahead and take the Hogs here. Try to get this show's second straight money line winner with an SEC team against another power conference opponent, right? They're going to Oklahoma State. I got them at plus 245 right here. I'm not expecting Arkansas to win. They're an underdog by 7.5 points for a reason. But you've got to like what you saw in week 1 from Bobby Petrino in this offense. He's back in the booth up there. And look, he is an incredible offensive mind. You can think whatever you want to personally about him. He knows what he's doing offensively. Taylor Green looked really good, albeit against a really inferior opponent. But it also seems like Mike Gundy's good for a loss like this every year as well, right? Like he's going to drop one, probably particularly at home, that he's not supposed to. This is one that they're not supposed to drop. Arkansas maybe got a little bit of momentum going after their huge week last week. Again, Green at quarterback is a dynamic playmaker. They might be able to score just enough to pull off this upset late on the road in Stillwater.
Yeah. I think they have to stop the run, right? Like, I think it's going to be more about their defense, stopping, Ollie Gordon there.
Ollie Gordon, yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think that they can absolutely, win. I mean, I watched Taylor Green play a lot last year at Boise State. He's very capable. The offense may be in better hands with him than they were KJ Jefferson, just because he is more mobile. He's more elusive. He's not a straight ahead runner like KJ Jefferson was. He's much more elusive, and he can make some big plays. So yeah, if he comes out and makes some big plays, I could absolutely see Arkansas winning this one.
Yeah. All right, Hitch, what's your plus money play?
All right, staying out west. So since 2018, Oregon State is 3-7 against the spread as away favorites. They're going to San Diego State. San Diego State's +6. I'm going to take them on the money line at +185. During that same time frame, since 2018, San Diego State is 8-5 against the spread as a home dog. Oregon State loses. I guess what we're finding out is maybe not that much with DJ but they did lose Damian Martinez as well. So their top two offensive weapons, I would say, are gone, and they're only returning about 20% of that offensive production. Yeah. They were hit really hard with TARP, right? They had a negative 10.5 rating when it comes to TARP. I mean, they lost a lot of teams. Both teams got off to a slow start in week 1 against FCS opponents. But the one unit that played really well did not get off to a slow start and played 60 minutes was the San Diego State defense. And if Oregon State gets off to a slow start here, they may find themselves down 10 double-digit points, right? 10, 14 points, and may not be able to come back against this defense that's very good. I think San Diego State's got a real shot of winning at home.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I'll buy that. Yeah, Oregon State hit really hard with their coach going to Michigan State now. Took the backup quarterback, which look, that should have been an indication to us all that when he went to Michigan State, he let DJ go down to Florida State, and he took the backup with him up to East Lansing, right? But took a ton of players with him. So yeah, I like your logic there. All right, Chad.
Nothing real sexy with my plus money. It's going to be a tease. It's a teaser. Just a three-teamer. It is Longhorns at 1.5, minus 1.5. The Sun Devils at a pick. And Oklahoma State at 1.5.
Oh, come on, man.
I don't trust Arkansas after beating a terrible FCS school. Yeah, I mean, there can be some benefit to playing an FCS school. Arkansas Pine Bluff is not one of them. And Oklahoma State played an FCS school as well, but they dominated as well, and they're much better than if you compare the two FCS schools that they played. It's probably a 30 to 40 point spread between those two schools. So yeah, I like Oklahoma State just for a unit, and I think it's like 160 plus 160 is what I'm getting back on that.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to argue with any of it, right? So I mean, obviously Arkansas is an underdog for a reason. Oklahoma State's going to have the best player on the field with Ollie Gordon. We've talked about all that already. What did you see in that ASU game? What makes you take that? Is it State going out there, the travel? Is that what it is?
I think it's a combination of just how dominant Arizona State was against Wyoming. I was on that over. I ended up on that over, which was at 47.5. Arizona State covered it by themselves, and almost at the end of the third quarter. The domination. Now, granted, you can say Mississippi State dominated as well, but we're talking completely different class of opponent here. It is on the road. You've got a year 2 coach in Dillingham versus a year 1 coach in Levy, first game out and then you got time clock stuff to deal with. So yeah, give me Arizona State as a pick 'em at home. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. I have no issues there whatsoever. So
there's a couple of games that I'm surprised we didn't talk about.
All right, what's that?
Tennessee, NC State. Right.
Yeah. And look, there's a reason for that, because as I sent to y'all earlier, one of the bookmakers put out that all of the money is coming in on Tennessee. They're in on the Tennessee money line is in every single parlay. And they said best possible outcome is a North Carolina State outright win. When I see that much going towards one team, that's when I start staying away, because I like Tennessee in that spot as well. But I saw that and I thought, nah, not going to mess with that.
No.
Yeah. The other one, I think, that half point, if it were 6.5, it feels, I'm sorry, if it were 8.5, right? Like 7.5 makes me feel like you want me to take NC State really, really bad. I don't know. But the other one's even more interesting to me. I really, really thought about taking this one, and I'll probably still be on it. But App State plus 17. Chad, when you told me the other day, when you dropped that knowledge on us that there were 4 schools that did not accept any transfers, 3 of them were academy schools, and the 4th one was Clemson. I had no idea. Like, I didn't even know. I didn't even know you could do that. Like, I thought that you. Why would you not? I don't understand. From a team that didn't make the playoff last year. I mean, it's not like they were setting the world on fire last year and did. So what that says to me is they didn't get any better. No. They probably got stronger. They may have learned the playbook better. Physically get better. But as a whole, they did not get better. And
Yeah.
the way they looked against Georgia, I think you got to worry about a App State Michigan scenario here. And this was almost my plus money play was App State at Clemson.
It is a complete dereliction of his duties to not go into the transfer portal. You know, the progress that we're having from this year to from last year to this year for them, it was fine 10 years ago. If you want to compete in this day of college football, you have to play the game. And if he's not going to, then he is not going to have a long stay, much longer stay in Clemson. And I don't care how big of a name he is to that program. You cannot compete in this environment without doing some of those things that are different than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And did y'all see his excuse for not bringing in transfers this year? Because he was asked about it and he gave an answer.
What was it?
He said that they use their NIL money to retain their players. That's why they're different. Dude, Jackson Dart is making a ton of money at Ole Miss. You know, I'm sure J.J. McGee's got a bump. Bentley got a bump. You tell me Trey Harris isn't making more money this year than he was last year? Jordan Watkins, Caleb Prescorn, that offensive line, everybody does that, Dabo. Everybody is paying more money to retain their players while getting in the transfer portal to bring in more players to better that group. When I heard the answer, that made it even more unbelievable to me.
One other thing that I want to add regarding NC State, Tennessee, one thing that I wanted to add is I think it is going to be easy for people to overlook that North Carolina State was playing an in-state, not a rival to them, but for Western Carolina, who is in North Carolina, that was a game. And they are preseason ranked FCS school. Good team. They took their shot. And we had this comment a little earlier. Who's to say North Carolina State did not show everything in preparation for Tennessee? So if that stays above 7, I think it's at 7.5 right now, I could see myself being on the Wolfpack just a little bit.
Well, you know, Grayson McCall's a very good quarterback. I mean, we watched him at Coastal year after year be very good.
He was so bad this past Saturday. I think that's what stuck in people's heads.
But you gotta think too. He's used to running this breakneck speed at Coastal Carolina, and it may take him a game to get into actual game tempo of where. I mean, this is his first game in a completely new offense. I'm not saying they come out and dominate or even cover the spread, but I'm with Chad. If it doesn't dip below 7, like I'd probably be on the Wolfpack a little bit myself.
Yeah.
Because I think the potential is there. Like, right, they have a new quarterback, they have better receivers, they improved their running game. Like they went out and improved all of the positions that would make this possible. Was it good enough? We don't know. I just think that at home with that crowd, it's probably going to be, you know, as rowdy as North Carolina State can get. And so that looks good. But the last one was Sam Houston State in Central Florida. I mean, after the performance Sam Houston put up, is Central Florida going to cover that 22? I hate Gus Malzahn. I'll never bet for him or against him ever again. But I wanted to take this one.
Yeah. UCF looked pretty good last week as well. I know Sam Houston did too. Feels like KJ Jefferson might just be the perfect fit for Gus Malzahn and that offense, right? I'm pretty sure. I don't know if we ever talked about it on the show. I know privately us three have talked about KJ is going to be a problem down there at UCF, and looks like that's probably going to end up being the case.
Yeah, he's damn near 28 years old, so he's grown
out. That's right. All right, guys, before we get out of here, I do want to touch on the Rebels right here, just because it's such a big number. You know, I'm not sure the last time Ole Miss was more than a 40-point favorite against an FBS team, right? Middle Tennessee State coming into town. Rebels, I think it opened up at like 36 or 36.5. Before we hit record, I checked it. It's up to 41.5 right now. Do you lay those points with the Rebels after what you saw in week 1?
I would, only because we know Lane's going to run it up, and we've got decent backups, even if you put in the B squad. What I'm going to be watching for is how well we run the ball. That score can be a little misleading against Furman last week, right? We did not run the ball as effectively as you would like to see against an FCS opponent, and also as we're just accustomed to, right? The Lane Kiffin era has been heavy run the ball. And we did not run the ball as well as you would have thought we would considering the opponent and considering how we've been in the past. So that's going to be something very curious because obviously the run defenses are only going to get tougher going forward.
Yeah, the number that blew me away was the minus 20,000 money line. To win $10, you had to bet 2,000, which I'm sure somebody probably is doing that, and that would be a good bet. But yeah, I would take the 41.5, the minus 41.5, only because I wouldn't take Middle Tennessee State plus 41.5.
No,
right?
no.
I'm not taking that chance. I think that we have a much better chance of covering that than they do of covering as a dog. All the things that Chad said, right? You want to see running the ball. You want to continue to see the defense, right? Like I was talking to Blake about the game or after the game, and I said, I know that it's Furman, right? Like, and I know that it's 76-0, but to throw a shutout is, especially in a game like that where it's lopsided and you're probably expecting a trash touchdown here or there, but to throw a shutout, and I mean a dominant shutout, I don't know that Furman ever was even in danger of maybe getting inside the red zone.
They did not run a single play in the red zone. They did not.
Did not have a single red zone snap. I'm looking to see the defense duplicate that performance with a better opponent. Maybe not much better, but a slightly better opponent. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. Everything y'all just said, I would also take the Rebels minus 41.5 before I took the other side. But to Chad's point and Hitch's point, I do want to see us run the ball, especially in that we have an injury on the offensive line with Jeremy James, broken hand, going to be out several weeks. So we're already dealing with injuries to Jerquan Scott and Caleb Warren as well. They're both out. I don't know how much longer they'll be out. I felt like I saw Scott a little bit this past Saturday. Maybe they're trying to get him acclimated and work back in now. But you can't take too many more hits on that offensive line. You've already got 3 of them down. I know we're deep. I think we returned the most starts in college football and games played on an offensive line. But when you're already down 3 and you hadn't even played a division, an FBS opponent yet this season, you need to start getting healthier there. So we need those guys to start gelling. I need to see what they look like and start getting a little bit healthier before the meat of the schedule comes up. So that's what I'm looking for. Cover and stay healthy.
As an esteemed member of the media, right? That's what I'm looking for. All of the things that we said. As a fan of the Ole Miss Rebels, I'm looking for Jackson Dart airing that thing out all game long, because how much fun is it? Because you know that Lane's going to do it, right? Lane is going to let him air it out and pad those stats, and it is so much fun to watch.
Yeah. It seems like Lane's kind of pushing for a Heisman there for Jackson. We'll let him get his stats whenever he gets a chance. So we'll go ahead and end it right there, though, guys. I appreciate y'all joining me once again this week. And we'll be back with y'all again next Wednesday. And we will recap what happened in week 2, give y'all some week 3 bets. And appreciate y'all joining us here. And we'll do it again next week. Hi, Toddy, guys.
See you, boys.